Today, we are going to talk about preparing for the different types of IEP meetings. They're not all the same. We'll go over that on the next slide. So, understanding requirements and timelines for the IEP meeting ensure that we are compliant under IDEA, and it also serves to help facilitate collaboration with families. Now, for all of these meetings, we are going to send out documents 5 days before the meeting to the parents. And then we are going to provide a copy of all of those documents to the IEP facilitator. We are also going to need to summarize all of that we sent home during the IEP meeting in person. So the purpose of the different IEP meetings can be different. The initial screening is to determine if a regular education student or a student from another state qualifies for special education services in our state. For a reevaluation or a permission to test, as we call it here in Maryland, we will retest every student um, every 3 years, unless the parents say that it's not necessary and we can just use the previous testing. So we're really getting a permission to test or a permission to not test and just do a program review. For review of testing, if it's an initial student, it's to determine if a regular education student or a student with an IEP from another state qualifies for special education service, and the student does not have a case manager. That's for initial students. A reevaluation is to review assessments or to do new assessments to determine if a current special education student continues to qualify for students. An annual meeting every student has, every special education student has, and we will give updates on the progress that the student is making on their IEP goals and make any adjustments as necessary. For a program review, which is also an amendment in your IEP, is if changes are needed at any other times than the annual review, because the annual review is when we write the new IEP, and so any changes that are outside of that, rewriting the IEP or writing the initial IEP must have an amendment posted to it. So what we need to do before the meeting, I know there's a lot on this slide, and don't worry, I'm going to email it to everybody here. It will also be on the special education Canvas page that you can all access. So don't worry about having to take notes. So in all of the meetings, we're going to send out teacher progress reports, right? So first we need to send the blank form to the teacher and ask them to fill it out. And they need to fill it out and get back to us so that we can send that home 5 days before the meeting, 5 business days before the meeting, okay? We also are asking teachers for data samples for their students. And everything basically for all types of meetings are the same, except for review of testing. We are also going to send copies of any assessment reports, for instance, the Woodcock-Johnson, okay? And we also need to upload those documents to our online IEP system so that everybody has access to them. For the annual meeting, we're also sending home a copy of the draft IEP. In addition, every year we do quarterly updates, and we send those home to parents via email every quarter. For the fourth one, because these are annual meetings, so the fourth one, in addition to sending it home, the regular fourth quarter, during the regular quarterly meetings, we're also going to have a copy of that printed out with us at the meeting and sending that home to parents. And it's nothing to stress over. In the Maryland Online IEP system, there's a tab that says reports. You click on that, and then you click on IEP goal progress reports. Click on that, find your student's name, click on the student, run report, save it as PDF, send it home with all of your other documents. So that is everything for what to send home before the meeting. What to bring to the meeting is everything that you have sent home, in addition to intervention data, if you've done a formal observation on a student in the classroom, then you'll also bring that, and that will be for the review of testing meeting. In addition, for the annual meeting, you're going to bring the draft IEP, which has all of these items listed in blue here in this second to last column. Now, for collaboration, every stakeholder has their expertise and brings that to the meeting, and we all work together for the good of the student. We all have a place, we all have items to bring to the table to contribute to the IEP. The facilitator runs the meeting, ensures that it runs smoothly. The general education teacher generally will speak next, just simply because they have a substitute in their classroom waiting for them to get back. So we usually let them go next. They will provide information on how the student is faring in the general education setting. Then the school counselor usually will speak about graduation requirements and uh, the status of how the student, especially in the high school level, how many credits does the in what subjects does the student need? Which ones does he have? What's the plan for the next year for course selections? The school psychologist will speak about any psychological testing he or she has completed. The transition specialist will, before the meeting, will conduct a transition interview with a student and then present those findings at the meeting. At our school in Charles County, every high school has a transition specialist. And for senior meetings, that transition specialist will attend the meeting with us. For underclassmen, they will not. So you will get that report for the meeting. You will need to review it so that you can report on it to the parents at the meeting. What the student wants to do employment wise, education wise, trade school wise, go straight to the workforce, where the student wants to live, independent living, and what their strengths and weaknesses are. If they know they know that they do have an IEP, and what the IEP, why they have an IEP, and basically all of that. And transition is how the student's going to be transitioning from high school to after high school, be it college, trade school, straight to the workforce, if they're going to live at home, they're going to live out with friends or by themselves, if they how they are in the status of getting their driver's license, things like that. Related service providers will provide reports on any testing that they may have done. Now, not all students have a related service provider. Some do, some don't. They're different. Um, the parents and guardians will actively take part in these discussions. They will provide meaningful input before the meeting has taken place. The IEP facilitator has sent home parent input forms for the parent to fill out and send back. The student will also provide input at the meeting. The meeting's about the student, so they will provide information as they like to. And you, as the case manager, will go over any changes in the IEP, in the draft IEP, whether they've made their goals. If they have not made their goals yet, what is the status? How are they doing in progressing to making those goals? You'll also go over the teacher progress reports from other teachers besides the one general education teacher that was there. Okay. So just a reminder that collaboration between all stakeholders is critical for developing an effective IEP for our students. So this slide also has a lot of information on it. And again, don't worry, we're going to send this out. Uh, so we have here each section of the IEP, who the responsible stakeholder is in completing that section, and what data is needed for that. So I'm going to go over what you as the case manager is responsible for, and you can, if you want to look at the other items, they're here. Okay, so with the performance summary, you are going to go into the student view. Well, that's what we have here in Charles County, and pull up this standardized testing scores from that, and you're going to input all of that information in the performance summary section. For the present levels and the academic and functional areas assessed, you are going to pull information. The data you need is the standard test scores also, any classroom assessments that have been provided to you, any observations that you've completed, reading inventories, running records, that kind of thing. In the area discussion, you are going to discuss the student's strengths and needs. So you can also get this information from the classroom assessments, from the observations. Uh, for the secondary transition, I'm sorry, the transition liaison will take care of those items. And the special considerations, accommodations, supplementary aids, modifications, accommodations. The data that you need to complete these sections are the disability information via the eligibility assessments, which the IEP facilitator will have already done, the data that we have previously gathered in the present level section, and a behavior intervention plan if there is one. In order to write our students' goals, we are going to need all of the information from the present levels. Okay. So then the student progress on the goals. Now, I mentioned this before that every quarter we will we need to collect data from our students' teachers, and using that data, we will complete our updates in the online IEP system. After those are all done, we will run a report and email those home to the parents. In addition, we will run a report for the transition activities update and send those home also. But the transition specialist will be completing those. We just need to run the report and send it home for them. In addition to what we had talked about before, there are other documents that we're going to need for this meeting. The invitation to the meeting sent to the parents, which will be done by the facilitator. We as case managers will give an invitation, a written invitation to the student, which includes a pass for that student to leave his affected class in order to come down to the meeting. The draft IEP, teacher progress reports, and assessment reports to review for the meeting. The procedural safeguards are given to the parents and guardians by the facilitator. The parent responses is also from the facilitator. Permission to test will happen at the meeting if necessary. And the medical assistance consent form is also done with the facilitator. The meeting notice to all of our stakeholders and school substitute count coordinator, I'm sorry, I missed that one, is due, the IEP facilitator will also handle that. Now, we do need to value, and not just value, we need to ensure that our families understand that they are essential members of the IEP process, the IEP team. They are not outsiders. We want to create a welcoming atmosphere for them and use family-friendly communication. So, for instance, for the seating, we don't want to create an us versus them um, atmosphere. So, we want to intersperse everybody. We don't want to sit with the family on one side and the other stakeholders on the other side. We want to be all together. Okay. So, we don't want to be us versus them. So when sending out the draft IEP, we want to use in our email, we want to use clear family-friendly language in the email. Flexible meeting options. We can have our meetings in person. We can have them virtually, or we can have them via phone. I already talked about the seating. When we bring them into the meeting room, we want to welcome them warmly with a nice smile. We want to, throughout the meeting, speak in a conversational tone with compassion and empathy. Maybe even have a bowl of candy on the table. I feel that that makes it a little bit more casual, not so formal, even though this is a formal meeting. We want our parents and student to feel comfortable. And at the end of the meeting, we want to thank our families for their input throughout the meeting. Okay. Now, for effective collaboration with all of our stakeholders during the meeting, we want to practice active listening. And we're not going to just sit there and nod and, we're not going to just listen to respond. We want to let other members know that we see you. We're paying attention to what you're saying. And this goes to our body language also. Okay. We want to be open with it. We want to prioritize the goals and keep the group on track, which the facilitator is very good at doing. We want to build a consensus with all of the members of the IET. We want to outline our action items um, for each team member in their way to assist the student. And we want to celebrate achievements. We want to commemorate progress, words of appreciation, words of praise. And I believe that these strategies promote shared decision making, which is imperative for our parents. So effective strategies for continued communication. The IEP facilitator, after their meeting, the IEP facilitator will audit, close out the IEP, and then email the final one to the parents, the case manager, and any service providers necessary. Then the case manager will distribute the final IEP and coordinating data sheets to all of the students' teachers. The case manager, you, will continue to check in on the student and his or her teachers to see how they're doing, if they need anything. Collect the data each quarter and send reports home. In addition, the case manager is basically the point of contact between the parents and the teachers in regard to the IEP, with regard to the goals and goal updates and the accommodations and modifications. And that, my friends, is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. Collaboration and communication are key to supporting our students with exceptionalities, and I appreciate the opportunity to share this information. Questions? Thank you.